This is the story of a church girl named Sandra. She was 19, but her heart was like a flower that never knew dust. Her smile could light up a cold room, and her voice was like water from heaven, soft, pure, and sweet. Every Sunday, when Sandra sang in church, the whole building would go quiet. Even the children would stop playing. Her eyes stayed closed, her hands stretched high like a tree reaching for the sky, and tears would fall from the eyes of people listening. Some cried loud, some wept in silence, but all were moved. Even old Mama Chinyere, who never cried, once whispered, "This girl is not ordinary." Sandra didn't wear makeup. She wore long skirts that swept the ground, like a humble queen. Her hair was always covered. She walked slow, talked slow, smiled soft. She was never rude, never loud. When others joked about boys, she just smiled and looked away. Her father, Pastor Paul Adams, stood tall in the pulpit and said proudly, "Look at my daughter, proof that God still makes perfect girls." The whole church clapped. The old women always prayed, "Dear Lord, let my daughter grow like Sandra." And the men said, "That girl will bring peace to any man that marries her." She read the Bible like it was her diary. She didn't just know verses. She knew what they meant. When her mother was sick, she didn't run to the chemist. She knelt beside her and prayed, "Oh God, heal my mother." And by morning, her mother was strong again. People believed Sandra was made from the fabric of heaven, a golden child, a shining light, a dove among crows. And they weren't wrong, but what they didn't know was that even the brightest moon has a dark side. And Sandra's own was hiding, quietly, waiting. When Sandra got admission into the university, the whole church danced. Her father said, "The Lord has done it again." Her mother sang with a voice full of joy. They bought her new clothes, a small gas cooker, a Bible with golden edges, and a phone for school. On the day she left, Pastor Paul prayed long, laying his hand on her head like a crown. "Go and shine for God," he said. Sandra nodded. Her eyes were full of fire. She packed her Bible first, then her nightgown, then her verses, printed on small white papers. Her bag was full of faith. In school, her hostel room had 4 girls. 3 of them were like city breeze, fast, loud, full of color. They wore short dresses, long lashes, and perfume that filled the air like rain in dry season. Their names were Doris, Amanda, and Lola. They laughed loud. They painted their faces. They came back late with nylon bags of fried rice and chicken, with bottles that made funny sounds when they laughed. Sandra kept her corner neat. She pasted Bible verses beside her bunk. One said, "Be not conformed to this world." Another said, "Flee from every appearance of evil." She prayed every night, on her knees, soft voice, hands joined. Doris would roll her eyes and say, Holy Mary has started again. Amanda would whisper, "One day she'll join us." But Sandra just smiled. "This life won't last," she said one night. "God is watching." Lola laughed and clapped. "Our church girl has spoken. Clap for her." They mocked her, but she didn't change. She still read her Bible every morning. She still listened to gospel songs before going to class. She still called her parents every Sunday after service. Her voice always calm, always pure. "Daddy, today's message was powerful." "God bless you, my child," Pastor Paul would say. Even when her roommates talked about the men they met and the money they got, Sandra kept her ears closed. She didn't envy them. She felt sorry for them. "Don't you want to enjoy life small?" Amanda asked one evening Sandra looked at her, calm. I am enjoying life. God is enough for me. They rolled their eyes. You will get tired soon, Doris muttered. But Sandra was focused. But she didn't know that sometimes temptation doesn't knock loudly. Sometimes it slips in like wind, quiet, slow, and dangerous. Everything was fine until one day it wasn't. Sandra sat on her hostel bed, her phone in hand, waiting. But no alert came. No message from home. No call. She refreshed her banking app again. It showed 0.50. Her throat dried. She called her father. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Later that evening, her mother sent a short message. My dear, things are tight now. We will send money as soon as we can. Please manage. Sandra held the phone like it was fire. Her chest felt heavy. She looked at her food shelf. 1 cup of rice, 1 half-ton sachet of salt, no sugar, no milk, not even a biscuit. That night, she poured the last rice into a bowl. She cooked it. Her stomach growled like thunder. She sat by her bunk and drank it slowly, eyes closed, lips shaking. Across the room, Doris laughed as she opened a steaming plate of fried rice and chicken. Amanda brought out suya from a nylon bag. Lola danced with a bottle of juice. The smell filled the room like perfume. Sandra's stomach turned again. She pressed her wrapper against her chest and whispered, God will provide. The next day, she borrowed money from her friend Grace. Please, I'll pay you soon, she said. Grace nodded. No problem. But this is the last one, please. Sandra used the money wisely. 1 pint of rice, some ground nut, 2 sachets of water. That was all. But by the 3rd week, the rice had finished again. Her body felt light. Her steps grew slow. Her eyes looked weak. At night, she couldn't sleep well. Her pillow heard her tears. Still, she didn't call home again. She didn't want to worry them. She just knelt by her bed and prayed. Father, please, open a door for me. But instead of a door, it was something else that opened. Something she never expected. That evening, the room was bright. Music played low. The girls were dressing up again. Laughter filled the air like perfume. Doris danced in front of the mirror, holding a glittering gold dress. Then she turned and dropped it on Sandra's bed. Wear it. Just one night. You'll eat. You'll laugh. No one will touch you. Just look pretty. Sandra looked at the dress. It sparkled like stars. But she shook her head slowly. Number, I'm not like that. Doris shrugged. Suit yourself, church girl. They went on, dressing up like movie stars. Amanda wore red heels. Lola sprayed perfume that smelled like sweet flowers. Then they left, heels clicking on the corridor floor. The room went quiet. Sandra sat alone. The light bulb flickered above her. She picked her cracked phone. Battery was red, no airtime. Her account still said 50 kobo. Her pads had finished. She folded tissue inside her pant. Her lips were dry. Her stomach made sounds. She looked at the dress again. It lay there, waiting. She stood, touched the soft cloth, held it close, then whispered, only this once. Doris returned minutes later to pick her forgotten lipstick. She saw Sandra holding the dress and grinned like a cat. I knew you'd join, she said. Before Sandra could change her mind, Amanda sat her down. Let's curl your hair, she said. Lola opened her makeup bag. Don't move, she smiled. We'll make you look like fire. They worked fast. Brushes, powders, lipstick, perfume. Sandra sat still like a statue. Her heart was beating fast. When they were done, they turned the mirror to her. She blinked. The girl looking back at her had red lips, shiny eyelids, and skin that glowed like light. Her dress hugged her like it was stitched for her body. She didn't look like Pastor Paul's daughter. Doris leaned close and whispered, "You look dangerous." Sandra didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just stared. Because the girl in the mirror was a stranger. And that stranger was ready to step into a world Sandra had only judged, never touched. By 9:30 that night, the black car arrived. Long, shiny, with dark windows. The driver didn't talk. The music inside was soft, like whispers. Doris, Amanda, Lola, and Sandra entered like queens. Sandra sat at the edge, quiet, holding her small purse like a shield. Her hands shook a little. Doris passed her a drink in a slim glass. "Just sip. It helps you smile." Sandra took one sip. It tasted sweet, but it burned her throat. She coughed, then smiled small. The car stopped in front of a big club. The lights outside blinked like stars fighting for space. Inside, everything moved fast. Music loud, smoke in the air. People laughing, girls dancing, men watching. Doris held Sandra's hand. "Don't be scared. You're safe." They walked past people, through a golden rope, into a quiet area. Soft chairs, cold drinks, and one man stood up as they arrived. He was older, beard clean, wristwatch bright like a mirror. His perfume touched Sandra before his words did. "So, you're the pastor's daughter," he said, smiling slow. His voice was calm, too calm, like someone who had done this too many times. Sandra smiled shyly. "This is Philip," Doris said. They sat. He poured her a drink. He talked. He asked her questions. Where she schooled, what she liked. He watched her like she was glass, waiting to crack. Sandra laughed at things she didn't find funny. She ate food she couldn't even pronounce. She danced a little. When she got tired, he held her by the waist and whispered, "Let me take you somewhere quiet." They left the club. The hotel room was cold, too cold. Sandra stood in the middle, her eyes wide. The bed was big. The lights were dim. Her feet refused to move. "I'll take care of you," Philip said, walking close. "You're safe with me." Sandra looked at the door. Her phone was dead. She had no transport money, no airtime, no one to call. She felt trapped. Philip reached for her waist. She flinched. He smiled and said softly, "Relax." But his eyes were sharp, his hands steady. Inside her chest, her mother's voice rang like thunder. "The devil gives with one hand and takes more with the other." Sandra blinked back tears, because this was the price, and she didn't know how to say no. After that night, Sandra didn't cry. She didn't talk about it. She just washed her face the next morning, wore her church dress, and went to class like nothing happened. Her roommates looked at her and smiled. "She's one of us now," Doris said, winking. If you want to see part 2, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.